And Poland, we have a problem as the world's ranked number one says no. That's right, no to China, no to Beijing, no to defending her master championship. And the tour just got a little bit more bleak. Welcome to Tennis in a Minute. I'm your host, Good Energy. I give you the rundown on tennis coverage every day. This video is brought to you via the Doctrine of Fair Use to Fair Dealing, and we're also covered under the Digital Millennium Act. This concerns me, ladies and gentlemen. Iga Swiatek has had 3 straight seasons with winning at least 50 matches. Well, how about 60? She's got 59 this year. She might even hit 70 like she did in 22 when she had the historic run, breaking Venus Williams' 20-year standing record, 20 plus 22-year standing record of most consecutive wins in a WTA season. She hit 69 wins last year. She could have hit 70 if she wanted to. Right now, she's 59 and 8, and she says no to China. This is not good, ladies and gentlemen. Now, she's citing some personal issues, right? We're thinking they're family related, but listen, guys, I'm concerned because Iga Swiatek did mention, look, good things are not going to happen with the schedule like this, and I think the ladies are finally speaking up. And if we talk about her, do we want to say arch nemesis? Do we want to say Aryna Sabalenka is her kryptonite? She's been saying for a very long time that, look, this schedule is too brutal. And the fact that Aryna Sabalenka has withdrew from so many tournaments, she still has entered more tournaments than Coco. What is going on with the tour, guys? Ons is out. Svitolina shut it down. Aryna Sabalenka still recovering. Listen, I'm starting to get concerned when the stars. Aryna Sabalenka is a superstar. Iga Swiatek is a superstar. Sabalenka is a superstar. Ons is a superstar. When these superstars start speaking up on the schedule, I think something needs to be done. But what can be done, ladies and gentlemen? This is what we need to. What can be done about the schedule? Iga Swiatek's won 5 championships this year. She won Doha, the Indian Wells, Madrid, Rome, and the French Open. She's the queen of clay. We know that. But is the schedule too grueling? What do you guys think? I'm going to need you guys to comment below because I'm concerned. I do think, though, however, it's a good opportunity for the players that need a break, right? The players that are struggling, the players that get ignored for players like Emma Raducanu when it comes to getting wild cards in these tournaments. Emma's big time. I understand that she's big time, but there's a lot of players that are struggling on tour financially that need these wild cards to sustain, to survive. But Iga Swiatek, guys, she's out of the Chinese Open due to personal matters. Now, I've always said I'm in agreement with Aryna Sabalenka, and I do think that the tour, and Iga Swiatek as well, I do think the tour, it's tough to balance your home life. This is like any average adult that has a working 9 to 5. It's very tough to balance work and home life. And by the way, look at Iga Swiatek's speed when she had to return this drop shot against big game Jessie P. And the reality here is that's her last match, guys, at the U.S. Open where she lost to big game Jessie P. And Jessica talked about the strategy. Look, she's got to control what she can control. Play smart, be aggressive. And she did a fine mixing of that. But Iga Swiatek, she's also not going to be part of Poland's squad for the Billie Jean King Cup finals in November, right? Because she wants a proper offseason. Now, I talked about offseason. It's critical. The tour, tennis is the only sport that has such a long schedule. We're talking about, I'm not even going to say January to November anymore. It's December to November. Because these ladies, they're playing the World Tennis League, right? They're playing that. They're doing a lot of exhibitions. And right now, in case you don't know, Jessica Pegula and Emma Navarro, they're heading tennis at Madison Square Garden. And I think Big Foe and Ben Shelton will be in that as well. Tennis in New York City indoors. That's going to be huge, guys. Stay tuned for that. That's going to take place in December, right after the WTA finals. But again, the season's so long. When do you rest? Now, the WTA has issued statements that, yes, guys, the only requirements for the top tier players are the slams and the masters. We know that. But again, the sport is so competitive. You want ranking points. And of course, I don't think money's really an issue when we're talking about at least the top five players on tour, the Igas, you know, the Sabalenkas, the Rabakinas, the Pigulas, the Cocos, the Ons. I don't think money's an issue with them. They've made tons of money. Coco being the highest paid female athlete in the world last year, Iga right behind her. So I don't think money's an issue, but at some point they may have to just take a look at their health and make sure they're healthy and stop playing all these tournaments. And I think the personal matter issue with Iga, I think it really is a personal matter, right? She has the type of integrity where, look, if she was healthy and she could play, she would play. I mean, her and Thomas said it best. They're not tourists. They come to these tournaments in these cities to win championships. Iga said it herself. She does not enter into any tournament that she feels she cannot win, right? So Iga's there to win. But the return for Iga, it's going to be at the Wuhan Open. That's right. That's another master event that starts right after Beijing finishes. But I also want to talk about the pressure. I don't think the pressure gets talked about enough. Coco had a lot of pressure on her to defend her titles this summer, especially in New York. And she came out and said, "Look, whatever happens, happens. If you're if you have the luxury to defend something, that means you won something, right? And not a lot of people win slams when it comes to WTA tennis. We're aware of that. But I do think there's a lot of pressure on these ladies to defend these titles, especially with media being as big as it's ever been. Is that possibly an issue as well? Is Iga feeling the pressure to defend? Because nowadays, if you don't defend your title, it's like you become a mockery on the internet. It's like people just ridicule you for no reason. Is that an issue? But let's go back to her statements. It's not going to end well, right? It makes tennis less fun for us. You guys remember the statements when we're talking about this grueling, long schedule that runs from December to November. And if you're a top athlete, a lot of these tournaments rely on your attendance in these events to sell tickets, to market it, to promote it. Now, keep in mind when the schedule is made and these top tier athletes, these top tennis players commit to that particular tournament, there's a lot of marketing dollars that's spent. You know, if you've gone to any of these events, you see the players, their images, their large images, they're displayed all throughout the tournaments, the arenas. It's marketing, it's promotion. I mean, if you even take a walk down the street, some of these cities, you see these players' images on bus stops. There's signage everywhere, right? They're trying to sell and promote these events and sell tickets. When a player like Iga pulls out of these events, Elena Rybakina, it takes a big blow for marketing, especially when you're talking about the particular times of the matches, the schedules in contrast to the marketing, the television ads. It's a big blow. And if players like Rybakina continue to, and I've said, I think Rybakina is on a silent protest. If they continue to pull out, I think something will be done, and I think that's probably the smartest thing to do. Now, I did talk about Rybakina's her shoulder, that's bothering her a bit, but I do think she's healthy enough to play some of these matches, right? Now, I talked about the match against Jessica Ponche in New York. Jessica Ponche is a phenomenal talent, but let's just be honest. If Rybakina is 60%, I think she wins that match. So how injured was Rybakina? What was that really about? I think Iga said it best. It's not going to end well. Something's got to be done about the schedule. And I think personally, Iga's so tough mentally, especially with her mental coach in her corner the last few years. I personally think that she has what it takes to play through these types of issues. But I think it's also a good opportunity for her to rest and focus on those issues because she's sitting comfortably, or is she not, ladies and gentlemen? Right now, she's sitting comfortably in the number one spot, and we're going to take a look at that, ladies and gentlemen, because she's the only player on tour with over 10,000 points, right? She's got 10,885 points, but Sabalenka's got 8716. Here's the thing: Iga's not going to play China. She's down 1,000 points already. So Iga has 9,885 points. If Sabalenka wins the Chinese Open, she's going to be the new number one in the world, ladies and gentlemen. You are absolutely correct. And then there's going to be a fight at Wuhan for that number one spot again. I do think Sabalenka's got a good chance to win it. She's technically the hard court queen right now. She's playing the best tennis, without a doubt. 2 slams, the only player on tour to win 2 slams this year. She's probably going to be your number one ranked player in the world after the Chinese Open. And what about Pegula? Pegula's got 6,200 points. Rybakina is on her heels with 5,800. There could be a shuffle there between 4 and 3. Jasmine Paolini's got 5,300 points. Coco's got 4,900 points. If she could win the Chinese Open, we could see Coco bump up to possibly number 4. She can't catch Pegula. Pegula's going to stay right there at number 3 over Coco. But I want to talk about the race to the finals because that also gets pretty darn interesting. If Sabalenka wins the Chinese Open, she's going to be the number one ranked player in terms of the race to the finals. That's how good Iga's been. Because despite Sabalenka winning 2 Grand Slams, Iga still has that number one seed. Seeding is very important when we're talking about the WTA finals. Sabalenka could rise to number 1. Iga's going to fall to number 2, but there's a huge drop off from 3 to 8. So the number 1 and 2 spots, and those ladies have already clinched, by the way, Iga and Sabalenka. They've already clinched their spot for the WTA final. So essentially, Iga could pack it in if she wanted to, but she has committed to playing Wuhan. But listen, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look at Coco. She's number 6. She's got 3,900 points, 3,968. I talked about Queen Win possibly not being able to hold on, but right now she's on the heels of Danielle Collins. Headed into the Asian part of the tour, this concerns me for Danielle Collins because Queen Win's going to play some good tennis with the home crowd backing her. Danielle's holding on to that 8th spot by 178 points. Disappointing showing for Danielle on the American swing of the tour. However, she was injured. That really hurt her coming off of the Paris game. She probably wishes she didn't go to Paris, because it was a disaster for all the Americans. It was a disaster for Danielle Collins in Paris. Getting into it with Iga, oh my goodness. Do I want to talk about that? Go watch the video, guys, because I think Paris was an absolute disaster for all the Americans. Emma Navarro getting into it with Queen Win. She said she doesn't respect her. I don't know. I mean, that's a tough topic to get into because I think as a competitor, sometimes you have to draw the line between what's real and what's not. A lot of people, when they're competing, they're not the same person and they're not your friend. They don't want to be your friend. They want to destroy you. And that's why Iga's been so good for so long. She wants to destroy you. You have to have that killer instinct. You have to have that eye of the tiger mentality. Iga has it. I think Queen Win has it. And for some of the players that want to try and take the classy approach, they really need to look at themselves in the mirror as well. Because every player here and there is doing things that could irritate their opponent. But I don't know if Danielle Collins is going to hold on. Queen Win could bump her out. Emma Navarro's holding on to the 7th spot with 3,500 points. If Queen Win has a deep run, she could climb up to 7. Coco has a 400-point lead on Emma Navarro as long as she's consistent like she always is in these master events. I think Coco holds on to the 6th spot, if not bumps out Pegula in the 5th spot. Pegula's holding on to the 5th seed with only 4,400 points. Paolini's got a 400-point lead on Pegula with 4,800 points, but Rybakina is only holding on to the 3rd seed over Paolini by 100 points. From 3 to 8, this race is going to get pretty darn interesting. Now, there's a huge drop-off from 9 and 10, where Queen Win has 3,000 points and Dasha only has 2,700 points. Dasha has an opportunity to win Korea tonight. She's taking on Beatrice Haddad. That's going to be a tough match. Now, I've covered those two in the past, and I've talked about that type of matchup. I don't know. I think Beatrice might pull it out, to be honest with you. Now, Beatrice, she's going to keep everything in front of her, everything in front of that baseline. That's going to force Dasha into a lot of mistakes. If Dasha can back up Beatrice behind the baseline, she'll have the upper hand in these rallies. But This isn't Emma Raducanu. She's going to be facing a bigger, stronger, more physical player that's going to have a lot more pace on that ball. So that could disrupt what Dasha wants to do. But how does Thomas feel? Listen, guys, I think Iga's doing what's best for her and her family. As humans, athletes, we all go through these personal matters. We want to support Iga Swiatek, whatever she's going through. Just let's just hope she gets through it. She comes back. The sport needs her. She's a very, very big draw for the sport. So Iga Swiatek, we wish you the best. Get through your personal matters, and we'll see you in Wuhan. Tennis in a minute. Like the video. Show some love. What do you guys think? What's really going on with Iga? Is it a big deal? Should we be concerned or not? We'll be right back.